Hello and welcome to the Gutsy Grace Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sheila, and I'm glad to have you here with us for season 3. If you have ever wondered if you are alone in your journey, if you've ever thought, I know I'm called to do this work, why is it so hard? And why am I stuck here doing this alone? I want you to know, first of all, you're not alone. We're right there with you. And you're probably going to find you're not the only one that has had the challenges and obstacles that you've been facing lately. Now, I don't want to just talk about challenges and obstacles. I want to talk about solutions and levers to bring change and get us in motion, get us walking into the calling that God has designed for us so that we can make the impact we want to make in the world. Okay, so stay tuned and we're going to get to that. Now, let me give you a little highlight of what to expect this season. One new thing that we're adding is, in addition to the audio being available to you on your favorite podcast app, you can also now watch the video over on my YouTube channel. Now, my YouTube channel has been through some transformation. It looks pretty barren right now. Just hang with me. I'll be reloading some information. I'd love for you to subscribe over there because I will be doing some conversations with colleagues this season. You can join us there in watching. It'll be like we're all having coffee together. That's my hope. Now, today, I want to talk about some findings that I have collected for women like us who are leading in area of influence in our community, ministry, or business. If you're like me and most of the ladies I work with, multi-talented, multi-passionate, and really hungering to do more for the Lord, even though our time is limited, our energy is limited, and we have to be so intentional about how we use it. So how do we do more in less time or the same amount of time and make a greater impact? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. One of the things that I did in preparing for this season, not only this season of the podcast, but this season of ministry and work, I decided let's just ask the ladies in the community, where are you right now? What's going on in your life? What big dreams do you still have that you haven't yet accomplished that you feel called to do? And where are the challenges for you right now in doing that work so that we can get to the solutions together? Some of the big dreams that are among the women in our community, when I say community, I mean those that are listening to the podcast, those that are in our free Facebook group, also a link to that in the show notes, and women like you and me that are out there doing the best we can for the Lord because we know we're walking toward hearing well done one day. First of all, let me tell you that I surveyed a very select small group of Christian women that I have either worked with before or I'm very familiar with the type of work that they do. It's a small group, but I do think it's reflective of our larger community. You can let me know if it's reflective of you. In this survey, I only asked 3 questions. The first question was, what is the big thing you're looking to do this year? Like, what do you feel God's put on your heart to accomplish this year? It can be anything in any realm of your life. What I found was all of these answers sorted into 3 big areas. 20 out of the 22 responders had their big thing that they're working on for this year falling into one of these 3 areas. One big thing is creating resources and services. So the ladies in our community are doing big things like finishing a book that they've been talking about for a long time, launching a course, launching a business or a ministry, adding new services to that which they're already doing. And this can be really anything that you're creating. So it could be a program, it could be a product, it could be a service, but many of those kinds of things were mentioned. The second category as the big thing they're working on are expanding their influence and outreach. There was a recurring theme here of people saying, I really want to write my book and get it in front of as many people as possible to serve them. Or I want to really fully launch this coaching group or wellness group and help as many people as possible with the message. So that really is expanding their influence outward and their outreach with their message. Wonderful thing I think about the women in our community is that it really is talking about expanding influence to do the work. It's not about building ego. It's not about becoming more famous. It really is about accomplishing the work that we feel called to do so that we impact more people with the mission and the message that we have in our heart. Okay, so the first area is creating resources of some sort or services. Second one is expanding influence and outreach. And then the third thing is impact community and giving. Many of the ladies that were surveyed that said, I know that I can impact more people if I can get the funding to do it. And that they're looking at funding as in fundraising, creating partnerships, building affiliates, finding more clients and customers. Again, the ideal was not to impact community and giving so that they can personally become, wealthy. It's really more about becoming the best steward of the finances and watching those finances multiply so that opportunities can multiply and mission can move forward. Those were the three big areas where these ladies who were surveyed were finding themselves this year. Now, I want to stop and pause here, and I want you to think about it, maybe even make a little note of it. The big thing that God has on your heart for this year, does it fall in one of these or more of these categories? If so, you're probably in the right place at the right time for this season. You may be wondering, well, who are these ladies that are reflective of us, of this community? So I want to just kind of give you a little bit of the makeup of the group. The women that were surveyed that came to share their big goals, they are women who are already published authors. Some of them are pastors or ministers. Some of them are small business owners or nonprofit executives, or what we would call C-suite executives in business. There were a few wellness professionals, practitioners in the health field, also some life coaches and business consultants in there, and many of them overlapped. Okay, so it might be someone with a wellness company that is also a pastor at a church. My hope is that you have heard about these fabulous women that did the survey and find yourself among them because you have some similarities. So as I said, we don't want to just talk about the big things they want to do, but let's talk about the real challenges, where the rubber meets the road, because when we can identify the challenges, we can address them and overcome them. We're going to talk about what the big three are that surfaced again. The third topmost was productivity. Now, I hear this one a lot expressed in, if I had more time, I could. And so this one I'm calling productivity. I'm going to share with you some of the quotes directly from the surveys. 50% of these women said things like, when asked, what are your top needs or challenges in accomplishing this big thing you feel God has called you to do? Half of them said, carving out time to do it, balancing my roles in life and work, limiting the distractions that are stopping me, staying consistent in, they said, like, the systems or the habits in getting things done, stop procrastinating what I know he is wanting me to do, and get the help I need to support me so that I can get that work done. Half of the people said that. 73%, so almost 3/4, the second highest said planning. Here are some quotes directly from them. Figuring out what priorities I should be focused on. Sticking to an action plan. I need advice on next steps I should be taking. Deciding on what offers I should create and promote. One of the underlying themes that I saw here with these women was not, I'm so incapable, I have no idea what I could be doing, or I don't know what my gifts and talents are. That is not where these ladies are. Now, we've all been there before. And from time to time, I circle back around there and have to pause and ask God, where am I on track? What's next? Where am I going? But these women were more like, look, there are so many opportunities right now. Having to keep those guardrails up so that I can stay focused on the most important things that I can be doing right now and planning toward the future for them. And so it really is more about not making enough time, but with the time I have, knowing what I should be doing today and what I should be doing tomorrow that affects the future. This is all really strategic planning. I'm just grouping it together and calling it planning, but it really is, how can I do more? And so we have productivity in the third spot. We have planning in the second spot. In the number one spot, and this was 86% of those surveyed. And I'm wondering if this is you too. I'd love to hear. 86% of these ladies said that their challenge is getting enough people around their mission. Okay. Now I'm grouping this together and called people, not because people are the challenge. They're not the obstacle, but having enough people or the right people around this message or this mission could be the challenge. Like, how do you find them? How do you gather them? How do you lead them? I'm going to give you some quotes straight from these ladies who were surveyed. They're saying things like, I know I need to increase my reach. I need to leverage more partnerships. I need to expand my network. How do I attract more clients to generate more income? How do I increase donations? I need to build a support team. I need more accountability and encouragement. So again, this is not necessarily just marketing and visibility, although there is some of that in there, but it's also having the right people around me to support the mission, whether those are volunteers or team members or donors and partners, alliances. It's having the right group of people that are serving alongside of you and that are benefiting from you. So I grouped them all together there because it really is about finding the right people for the right purposes, and then how do you then nurture that network? And so these are the three big areas: productivity, planning, and people that these ladies that were surveyed really want to focus on. And so I want to come back around now to take a pause and ask you, are those three areas challenges for you? If so, which one, how would you rank them as your top, second, and third? Maybe it's the same as for these ladies. Maybe you have a different one, and I'd love to hear that from you. So the next portion of this is where it gets fun for me. How do we take, this is the big dream you have. These are things that you feel like you've got to really conquer so that you can make that momentum so that you can have the impact on the other side of it that you know you're called to make. How do you do that? What's going to move the needle from point A to point C? Okay, so these are the four areas that I have identified that I believe will help you to overcome the challenges that we've talked about and get you on the path of action taking solutions. The first one is clarity, where we look at what we're called to do, clarify that vision where it's just crystal clear, and then we can start to identify the second thing. After clarity comes strategy. Okay, so we have to be very, very clear on what we want to accomplish. And then in the next stage, we want to prioritize what to do now and what to do next so that we can get there with a doable action plan, not a lofty one, but a doable one. Then after that, 3, we're going to work on visibility. And again, these all kind of overlap. So you're going to be getting clarity while you're already taking action in strategy and becoming more visible. You don't have to wait to be perfectly clear. In fact, I just was talking to a colleague who I hope to have on the podcast with me later. And we were talking about that, sitting and waiting and working toward clarity. And now the Lord is saying it's time to get to work. Like, okay, quit sitting around thinking about it. You've been overthinking. Let's just get to work. And honestly, I believe that clarity comes through action taking. And so the more you're getting into action, the more clarity you're also going to gain. But we need to be more visible. Now, I want to talk about humble marketing a little bit because I know many of the women in our community, even when I say you might want to consider building a personal brand, you're like, oh no, I don't want it to be about me. I understand that. It's not about us. It's about the work God's called us to do and the people that God's called us to serve. But you have to, in some way, build a bridge between you and them. And so that's what we would call the visibility plan. Like, how do they even know you're there? How do they know about your book? If you want to call that marketing or branding or advertising, they're all a little different. But in some way, whether that is through your Instagram post or your email or your Substack. There has to be a way for someone out there in the big world to know that you have this book that can help them walk through their grief. So visibility is the third. Clarity, strategy, visibility. The fourth is community. And this is what I'm so excited about, because I believe that community is the key to opportunity. When you're building your community around your message or your mission, then that is not only going to give you the support that you need to make more traction, but also you're finding and serving those people it was meant to serve more readily. And so you're kind of doing two things. There's an internal community and an external community. So your internal community is your team, the people that you're building up to support the mission with you, walking with you and carrying out and serving that vision. And then there's the external community, let's call it, those whom you are serving. And so that might mean the person that's going to read the book, the person that's going to receive the training, the person who's going to be fed at the social hall, whatever it is that you're working toward. And all of those are real examples of the ladies that were surveyed or the ladies that are in our free community. We have women doing such amazing things all across the spectrum. We have women that are going into prison and preaching the word. They're going into nursing homes and loving on elders. They are starting stores. They're leading people through health journeys and healing. They're doing all kinds of different things, creating products even that are out there in the world that are helping people. All of these things require community, though. You can't work alone. Even if your community is just a group that you can bounce ideas off of, then a partner that can help be a thinking partner for you. That's still building community so that you can get the clarity that you need and build the strategy that you need. So you pause to think about what big thing you're doing this year. You pause to think about what really are your obstacles or challenges that you're facing that you need to overcome to see that big thing to fruition. And the third pause now is I want you to really stop and think about, out of these four areas, clarity, strategy, visibility, and community, what's the top one or two that you know that you need? Identify them, and then you can start working to put them as part of your daily or weekly routine so that you can have the help and support that you need to fulfill everything God's put in your heart to do. Now, that's what this podcast is for, to give you some information like this, to know you're not alone. You are in community if you want to be. We have a free community over on Facebook, and you're welcome to join us if you're a Christian woman leading at any level or even aspiring to lead. We'd love to have you over there. You can find that link here in the show notes. You're welcome to join us and start building some community where you can go in there and say, hey, I'm working on this. I think I want to start a podcast and I'm starting to do some of the things, but they're thinking through like, what kind of microphone do I need? Who can help me get my studio set up? Do I even need a studio? What am I going to talk about? What am I going to name it? I don't even know what the steps are. Look, there are other women out there doing it. You don't have to figure everything out on your own. And that's the power of community in trying to accomplish all these things that God has called you to do. My big dream, my big one thing is creating success solutions for you to do the big thing you're called to do. And so that's why I have this podcast. That's why we're going on YouTube. We're hoping to help many more women to move forward in their calling, to accomplish everything that's in their heart that God has called them to do, and to lead well in doing it. I'd love to have you come back for another episode next week, and we'll be talking more about leadership and how do we get that clarity that we need? How do we start putting a strategy together? I'll be sharing some kind of free resource with you pretty much every week. For this week, you can take a look at the infographic with all of this information on it, as well as join our free community. I'd love to have you there. Reach out, let me know what you think. I would love to hear what the big things are that God has called you to do. So feel free to DM me on any of the socials. You can find me at Dr. Sheila Cornea. And you can also email me. All of that's here in the show notes. I look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, know I'm praying for you, and I'm praying that the Lord will bless you and keep you and shine his light right down on you. Take care.